When the military sends you somewhere for duty, Hawaii sounds like a dream job. Beautiful beaches, sunshine, and amazing views. But soldiers who served at tough bases like 29 Palms or Minot will laugh if you complain about Hawaii duty. Sure, Hawaii looks perfect from the beach. But military training there is hard work. We spent weeks in hot, wet jungles during field ops. These jungle areas are dangerous death traps at night. We crawled onto beaches at 3 a.m. after swimming hundreds of meters in full gear. Wet, sandy uniforms hurt your legs badly. Heavy, waterlogged backpacks weigh much more than normal. Hawaii, especially Oahu Island, hosts major American military bases. All military branches work there around the clock: Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard. They do field training in remote areas and night watch in empty buildings. Who better to see scary things that happen at night when everyone sleeps? Hawaii looks like a perfect vacation spot, but it has a bloody military history and lots of ghost activity. Before U.S. military came, local tribes fought wars and practiced dark magic rituals. The brutal Japanese attack in 1941 left its own mark. December 7, 1941 was one of America's darkest days. Japan wanted to control the Pacific Ocean and saw the U.S. Pacific Fleet as a threat. They planned a surprise attack to knock America out of the war before it started. A Japanese naval force positioned near Hawaii's coast. 6 Japanese aircraft carriers and dozens of support ships carried 353 fighter planes, dive bombers, and torpedo bombers. The planes took off just before sunrise on the 7th, flying toward Oahu Island. It was a beautiful Sunday morning. Church bells rang. Some sailors slept in or nursed hangovers. Then planes started flying overhead. Most people thought it was just a training drill. Only when explosions started did they realize this was real combat. The Japanese attack lasted 90 minutes. The damage was devastating. All 8 battleships at Ford Island were badly damaged. After 9 torpedo hits, the USS Oklahoma completely flipped over, trapping hundreds of sailors and Marines inside. The USS Arizona sank with 1,177 crew killed when the ship exploded. For days after the attack, rescue teams heard frantic banging from trapped men inside the wrecked ships. These sounds traumatized the men outside because they could only listen, unable to cut through thick steel to rescue them. 2,403 people died or would later die from starvation or lack of air inside the overturned ships. With such massive, sudden loss of life, perhaps this explains why Oahu Island and Pearl Harbor still have paranormal activity today. Pearl Harbor remains an active naval base and famous memorial site. It receives about 1.8 million visitors every year. Some experience more than they expected. The USS Arizona Memorial stands out among all the museums and historic World War II buildings. The battleship sits on the harbor floor, a corroded metal shell visible just below the water surface. Hundreds of crew remains are still trapped inside. Above the ship, the Navy built a white concrete and steel structure. Visitors reach it by short ferry ride, allowing them to view the ship from above. In 2011, an Australian woman named Suzanne visited the Arizona Memorial with her family. She took photos of the interior and the sunken ship. Looking through photos in her hotel room that evening, Suzanne suddenly got her husband's attention. What they saw was amazing. Clearly visible in the dark green water was a face, the distinct face of a man. It looked young. The expression showed deep sadness and pain. After sharing the photo with family, it was posted online and went viral worldwide. One submariner said his sub docked in Pearl Harbor. His chief came screaming saying he'd seen a man in an old naval uniform walk past him. He tried to question the man, then watched him walk right through the ship's hull. Knowing the tragic history of the USS Arizona and the men who died banging on the hull waiting for rescue that never came, the picture of the man's face in the water might be the most convincing ghost proof we'll ever get. This account was shared by an Air Force veteran stationed at Hickam Air Force Base in the late 1990s. As a security specialist, his job mainly involved patrolling the central headquarters building. The building has a very dark history. During the Japanese Pearl Harbor attacks, the building was used as a hospital and temporary morgue. Over 1,000 dead servicemen were stored there until their remains could be handled properly. Many died in the building while being treated. There was so much blood that cleanup required running hoses throughout the building and washing floors with scrub brushes. Pretty gruesome, and certainly sets a good stage for paranormal happenings. The first night on shift around 3 a.m., the motion alarms went crazy. Instead of the response team going in the building and clearing it, they simply reset the alarm and documented what happened. Anyone who knows military security knows this is very unusual. It happens every night, usually between 3 o'clock and 3:30. Almost every airman who tried to work that post would refuse to stay inside because they would hear walking and talking, smell what was described as rotten meat or slaughterhouse smell. The stairs would squeak and shake violently regularly. For 6 months, this alarm thing happened every single night between 3 o'clock and 3:30. Military dogs would refuse to go search. Every dog would whimper, growl, and try to hide behind their handler. Military working dogs don't refuse service. Grown men chose to sit on a stool in a 4x4-foot shack instead of at a nice desk in a spacious air-conditioned lobby night after night. At 3:17 a.m., the alarm would go off. There was motion detected in the basement and on the 3rd floor, though nobody had been there since 5 p.m. Buildings or spaces used to house bodies of the dead are now known to be very unsettling to spend time in. One Navy veteran shared a similar account about his building, now a commissary on Hickam. My unit's building was supposedly haunted. In the aftermath of Pearl Harbor attacks, the building was a commissary grocery store and they kept bodies in the freezers. Those freezers ended up becoming storage for our cleaning supplies decades later. It was weird going in there or staying overnight on duty. The island has a history that long predates Hawaii becoming the 50th state. It's a history of native people that includes countless wars and paranormal legends. One notable legend is the Night Marchers. Native Hawaiians descended from Polynesian peoples who migrated from the Marquesas Islands sometime between the 4th and 7th centuries. Over the following centuries, warfare was common in Hawaii. Tribes fought over territory and ruling power. The heart of Hawaii's tribal societies were the chiefs. Unlike many modern political leaders, Hawaiian tribe chiefs were frontline warriors. During peacetime, chiefs maintained order over their lands. During wartime, they led their men into battle. A warrior's fierce loyalty to his chief was so strong that it didn't end with his death. According to native Hawaiians, their devotion to the chief carried over into the afterlife. Legend says that while ancient Hawaiian island tribes are long dead, their spirits remain. These spirits are known throughout Hawaii as the Night Marchers. American soldiers, sailors, and Marines stationed on the island have been sharing stories about them for decades. A soldier told this experience at Schofield Barracks. We were doing a live fire exercise on a set of buildings. As we approached in the trucks, I saw in the headlights numerous figures sprinting between the buildings. They were moving insanely fast, faster than anyone should be at full sprint. It looked like each was holding a red light in their hands. One of my soldiers got out and said, "Sir, did you see those people there?" I thought everyone was gone. 4 more of my soldiers got out of the truck and said they saw the same thing. We called a hold on training and cleared the entire area. Never found anyone there. Another story from a Marine at Kaneohe Bay in 2021. We had just set up a little before Sunset Point in a spot we frequent often. At around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of marching and drums off in the distance that were getting closer to our campsite. In my mind, I immediately knew what it was. Out of fear, I lay there in my tent trying not to make a sound and hoping they would just pass by. Thankfully, the sounds eventually started to grow distant and were soon gone. The next morning an older Hawaiian woman who was also camping nearby came over to us and started asking if we heard the marchers last night. Come to find out that where we had set up is a known path for the Night Marchers. This final story comes from a headquarters and service Marine named Ruben who trained at Bellows Air Station, an old decommissioned air base on the southeastern end of Oahu Island. I was with a force recon unit out of Kaneohe Bay. We did land navigation all day and reconnaissance patrols at night. This particular night, the teams were given full independence, no instructor shadowing us. Our objective was simple: get dropped at a random spot and conduct a patrol back to our campsite, avoiding vehicle patrols by recon Marines and instructor staff. We started preparing and mounted up into blacked-out vans. As soon as I dropped to a knee to cover my sector, I tore a giant hole in the crotch of my uniform pants. I should have known this was going to set the tone for the rest of the night. The first quarter of the patrol went well. It wasn't until we crossed one of the large runways that things started to get weird. Once we re-entered the tree line, my compass began to act strange. The needle kept swaying left and right. After our pause position report was completed, I could have sworn my team leader tapped me on the shoulder and whispered, "Go." So I stepped off following my direction. By the time I had walked 30 feet back into the jungle, it was dead quiet. A weird dread feeling washed over me and I felt a tingle in my temples. I stopped and looked back, but no one was there. My team wasn't behind me. I was completely alone. A wave of panic sets in as I realize I had royally screwed up. That's when I began to hear the voices. They were faint, like the background noise of women and kids talking and playing, mixed in with the occasional male voice. Some bushes began to rustle. I didn't have any live ammunition, but I lifted my rifle while slowly backing away. Eventually the movement stopped and I ran back toward the runway. When I found my team still in 360-degree security, my team leader grabbed me and whispered angrily, "What the hell are you doing? Where did you go?" I told him about how he had tapped me and told me to go, and he claimed he never did such a thing. He told me that as he was writing down radio instructions, I just got up and walked into the jungle. We formed up and stepped off together. Our route led us to a bridge, the only land crossing since the stream was off-limits due to flesh-eating bacteria. About 300 meters from the stream we hit a massive black building directly on my direction. I tried to go around it on the right, but the building was still in front of us. We turned around and tried to go left, but the building was also there. The building was apparently crescent-shaped with a rounded roof like a small hangar or bunker. I have looked for this building on Google Maps and for the strangest reason I can't see it. We followed a trail to the stream, moving alongside very tall grass that borders the road. I see headlights coming near the bridge, so we force our way into thick elephant grass. When we exit the grass, I notice movement across the stream, someone walking against the tree line. It looked like a person walking down the road, but the way the moonlight was hitting him, it just didn't look like a guy wearing camouflage. I pull out my night vision goggles to get a good look at him, but as soon as I put them up to my eye, this guy's gone. No idea where he went, just disappears. After crossing the bridge and continuing our patrol, I found the guys that were driving around looking for us and asked, "Which one of you guys got out of the van? Because I saw somebody walking along the road and was looking for you with night vision goggles." All these guys had no idea what I was talking. They said nobody ever got out of the van, and there shouldn't have been anybody else walking around except us. So who was the guy that we saw? And moreover, who was it that tapped my shoulder if it wasn't my team leader? That was one of the creepiest patrols I've ever been on. The reality of how those men died at Pearl Harbor is more haunting than any ghost story. But with such massive, sudden loss of life combined with Hawaii's ancient history of warfare and spiritual beliefs, perhaps it's not surprising that these islands continue to hold mysteries that even trained military personnel can't explain.